like he could kick some butt.
Yes,
you know what I mean? A lot of times the big, powerful action hero stars that come out are really quite slight, and they don't look like they could hurt anybody.
Smaller than what they appear on camera,
yes.
You know.
Vin is the opposite. Vin looks like he could really hurt you.
Well, that's because he was a real, like, bouncer. You know?
That's right.
I mean, that's...
I remember you from the day. You probably don't remember me, and I'm sure, but you called my apartment once and invited me to a party that you were promoting back in the day. And here's why I remember this.
I gotta find that phone number.
And burn it. Because you were Vin Diesel back then. And
which, by the way, is the coolest name.
Coolest name ever.
But I think it belongs. Yeah. But it belongs to the race car driver.
Vin Diesel, right?
Yeah, that's a race car driver's name.
He's played a race car driver. What do you want? He can only do so much.
He's an actor, though.
Well,
yeah, it's cool.
Years later, my son is watching his favorite movie, The Iron Giant, and I'm watching, you know, we have this DVD, and it shows you all this behind-the-scene footage. There's Vin Diesel, and I'm like, I knew that guy. I know him, and there you were.
Wow.
When did this all...
Do you even remember her at all?
No, he
wow.
It was a lot of people.
There's a lot of people.
When I was bouncing, there was like 3,000 people a night.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, so...
But when did you go from that to being Vin Diesel, who's the biggest star there is now? When did that happen? Hello.
Help. I can't get this one right.
Well, how did you get into acting? How did that start?
I started acting when I was 7 years old. And I bounced because it was the only thing I could do to keep the days free.
Right.
I went out to L.A. when I was 21, and I thought, you know, being in probably sometime after I called you.
Right. I was slightly older then.
You didn't show up, so I went out to L.A. and I go out to L.A., and I think that because I'm a New York theater actor, I'm going to be received with agents and scripts. A year later, nothing happens. I have to come back to New York and regroup, re-strategize, and I started writing screenplays. And I saved $3,000 and did a film called Multifacial, which was a short film that went to Cannes.
Right.
And I thought that that would help me get money to do a feature called Strays, which ultimately went to Sundance. And it didn't. I didn't get any money, so I had to start working telemarketing and save money for a year.
Right.
To earn $47,000 to make a film called Strays.
So when people call you an overnight sensation, they're horribly wrong.
Well, they're ignoring the first 20-something years.
Exactly. We're going to take a break. We're going to talk about Triple X with Vin Diesel when we come back. Scene from Triple X, and we have the star right here, Vin Diesel. So it's a love story then?
Yeah. I couldn't help but notice the cool cars in there.
Yeah.
And you guys did some pretty neat stunts, but you do a lot of your own stunts. But I'm sure you must be into the cars with all the car movies you do.
Yeah, I love the cars. I love the GTO. That's my favorite gadget in the movie. But yeah, I did more stunts than I should have.
But was that you flying out of the car?
That one. You did. Oh.
Did they let you, or was that one something the director hid from the insurance company?
This is what happened.
We're having a real time with the insurance company.
Yeah, you can tell us.
I don't know if some people want to call it method acting, but I think once you adopt the characteristics of the character, and if you get too lost in it, you start acting like the character. So the studio basically was Sam Jackson.
Right.
And they were constantly holding me back from doing stunts, and I would run off and sneak and do a stunt, and they'd find me wherever I was jumping with the motocross. They would think that the shooting day was over, and then they would notice that I have snowcats putting together these giant jumps. And the executive producer, the other executive producer, who was worried about the liability of it all, had to leave the set because he couldn't take the anxiety.
Right. Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, you read the script and your character lives, so you assume that you will live? Is that what you're thinking, Ben?
I mean, this is all story.
Right. But, you know, you could still get hurt.
You could still get hurt. I think I'm young enough in my career that I don't understand the reality of
life,
sabotaging the whole.
Did Sam Jackson talk to you about that at all?
Sam Jackson talked to me about everything.
Yeah.
I met Sam Jackson in a sushi restaurant in London, and he was sitting next to me, and I'm from New York.
Right.
And I'm pretty much an ignorant New Yorker.
Okay.
I'm having stage fright. I'm joking.
You're afraid of the girls in the front row. They love you. Love.
So I order, ignorant New Yorkers, if you know New Yorkers, we order California rolls.
Right.
And that's all we order. And Sam Jackson was sitting next to me, and this is an incredible sushi restaurant. And he starts laughing and chuckling as I'm ordering this California roll, 10 times. And he says, I gotta order sushi for you because you obviously have no idea what you're doing.
Right.
And he starts ordering like tartar, things I used to skateboard on.
Yes.
And sashimi and like all these weird like delicacies.
Things that are raw.
Right, and raw and icky. And,
things with eyeballs.
Yeah, that stare at me and talk to me. And so, and at the time I was working with Spielberg. He was working with Yoda.
I love the way he lets that out. I was working with Spielberg.
You know.
Well, what do you do? I gotta say Spielberg because he's the guy that saw Multifacial and wrote a role for me in Saving Private Ryan.
So great.
He's a part. So many people are a part of it. Steven Spielberg. When I was in Sundance, Robert Redford gave me a lot of confidence. So many people, Tom Hanks gave me a lot of great advice. So many people have been helpful along the way.
Let's take a look at the movie. We've got a clip here, the avalanche scene with Xander Cage.
Okay.
So let's see Triple X.
A lot of fun.
Please tell me that was a stunt.
I was going to say, you are a great snowboarder.
You know what? I hadn't snowboarded for 2 years before we shot this scene. And we went out to the Austrian Alps, and we had to take a helicopter out there. And it was the best shooting experience of my life.
That's awesome.
By the end of the day, I was doing these jumps. I mean, I was ending up on my head more often than not.
Congratulations. It's Triple X. It opens tomorrow. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, darling. Be good.